Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions, and I want to offer a heartfelt thanks for those of you that continue to interact with us through our social media as well as through email, even our voicemail line. It's nice to know that more and more of you are out there listening, and I'm grateful for the attention that you give us. The social media is particularly a place where the interaction continues to increase, and we're happy to have you along. Go find What's Working with Cam Marston on Facebook or on Instagram. Click it, like it, heart it, whatever the thing may be, so that you can keep up with us and we can interact on a regular basis. I've also been told that our show on Wednesday evening is slowly becoming what people refer to as appointment listening in the business. In other words, it's Wednesday, it's 6 p.m. Let's make sure the radio is on so that we can hear what's working. That's rare air, no pun intended, pun kind of intended, for a radio show to get to appointment listening. And for those of you that recognize that when Wednesday at 6 p.m. comes around, you want to be near the show to hear the trends that are shaping the industries that we feature as guests, I'm grateful that you've given us your trust and your confidence to give us that much time. Welcome and welcome back, and we hope to keep providing you good guests as the days go on. I can't tell you how much my team and I enjoy this work, and it wouldn't be possible without you, the listeners. Thank you. Today is going to be no exception. The show that we've got prepared for you this evening was recorded not long ago, and I'm just coming back to it to get it all finalized. These are, when the show was presented to me, the concept was presented to me by Kristen on the team. She was aware of the two ladies that run this business. They sell, for lack of better terms, and you'll hear more about this momentarily, they sell additives to products that are already meant to be long-term. In other words, they sell additives to concrete mixtures to make the concrete last longer. They sell additives or things like that to steel to make the steel last longer. They sell additives to paint to make the paint last longer. And these are usually products that will be used in major construction things. This is not stuff you use on the concrete of your driveway at your home or as you put a paint on the shutters of your house. It's something completely different, bigger, and much more long-term. They're buying more and more decades of use by these products. Now, when it was pitched to me, it was a women-owned business, a female-owned business. But after I hear them talk and after you hear them talk, you'll realize it just should be a business. There's nothing about it that makes it unique to the females other than the fact that they have entered a traditionally and historically male-dominated business. You'll soon hear why these ladies have been so successful in what they do, male or female, steel, concrete, paint, whatever it may be. It's an impressive product they sell, and the approach that they've taken is just as impressive. We'll be back in just a moment to meet our two guests. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. We'll be right back.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Even if we don't meet in person, Regions is still here for you. We make it easier for you to stay informed and in control with online and mobile banking. You can check balances, transfer money, pay bills, deposit checks with Regions Mobile Deposit, and even set up helpful alerts no matter where you are. We're here to make it easier to bank your way. Learn more at regions.com/tools. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
The best, most cost-efficient ways to talk to customers about who you are and what you do is through signs, simple, effective signs. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Signorama is the Mobile area's leader in helping you design and build signs advertising your business. What kinds? All kinds of signs, all kinds. Find Signorama on Facebook or at signorama-mobile.com. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. I'm sitting here in the studio with Beth Morrissette and Andrea Moore. They are the owners of M2 Solutions, two females in a historically male-dominated industry. And I'm interested in hearing the story of what got you to where you are, what made you want to give this a try, and we'll get into what your products are and how they're different. But let's begin with what got you here. What's the story?
So I'll take that one. And Cam, thank you so much for having us here today. We appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we do. We love what we do. M2 Solutions began as a construction specialty division of Manufacturers Packaging Services, which was a 30-year-old company that belongs to my family. And we started a division up under Manufacturers Packaging back in really probably 2015, 2016 timeframe. Andrea and I had worked together in the Mobile area on several different initiatives in the community, large-scale initiatives over the years, and knew we had a good working. We worked well together, and that said, we started it as a specialty construction division under Manufacturers Packaging. The piece that's important to the story is we. Manufacturers Packaging wholesales packaging supplies, right? They don't do construction specialty materials.
Yeah.
So when we started doing this, the accountants and the lawyers were like, danger, Will Robinson, you can't. One does not go with the other. The terms are different. The contracts are different. It looked a little different on paper, and it made everybody really nervous. And we kept saying, hang on. And we built the division for 2 years, expanded it, and then right around 2018 decided to transition it completely out of the company into its own existing company, which Andrea and I both own.
So you two are partners in the business, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We own the business 50-50.
And Beth, your business your family was the manufacturing packaging group. Is that right?
That is correct.
That
is correct. My mom owns Manufacturers Packaging Services, still does.
Andrea, how did you get involved in it?
Yeah, I actually love this story. So Beth called me one day and said she would not be able to attend an event that we were both going to. And I said, why? She said, I've got to go on a trip to learn about rust. And I said, if you want to learn about rust, you can come over and I will teach you all about rust. You don't need to go on a trip to do that. And she said, no, I just really feel like I need to do this. I need to go on this trip. I can't explain it. I just need to go. I said, okay. So she calls me on her way back and says, you now need to go on this trip and learn about rust. And if you go and you love it, we'll do it. And if you don't, that's fine. And so I went thinking I was going to learn about rust and coatings and different things. And I ended up learning about a really new technology while I was there that's an admixture that goes into concrete. And the more I heard about it and saw the strategic advantages to it, the more I realized that this family-owned business had a really unique and technologically advanced product that people in our area really didn't know about.
Now, you're talking about the family-owned business that makes the component for the concrete. You're not talking about manufacturers packaging.
Correct.
That's correct.
So you go, and what is your background that makes you interested in rust? I'm curious. Now, I know you come from, Beth, a family business background. You see a business opportunity. But Andrea, what is your background such that rust really piqued your interest? And I don't think I've ever said that before.
Right. So I graduated from the School of Engineering at Vanderbilt, and I've always loved math and science. Mm-hmm. And I love to learn something new, something different, something unique. And I think with rust, right out of school, my first job was actually with Black & Decker Power Tools. And so I spent a lot of time out in the field with users and then helping with reliability engineering for those power tools. And, rust is something that we deal with, and it's part of the material makeup. And so as we look at materials and what to use in different projects, that part has always fascinated me. Well,
and I'd like to add that I happen to know this. So Andrea and I had worked in a lot of different capacities together for multiple years. And so we understood how we worked, and we worked really well together. But the piece that was really intriguing to me is the piece that that she just spoke to, that engineering, math, and science piece. So when I called her and said, hey, I've got this interesting opportunity and I'd love to talk to you about working on it with me, I was like, it's math and science, and you love math and science. Come work with me. It's math and science. And it still took her a little while to say yes, because she's very thorough and she researches opportunities heavily. So there was a transition piece in there that was about 3 months, but it's been a really, really good partnership.
Well, engineers, if we were to play the stereotypes, engineers don't embrace risk right out of the gate. They're more of a calculated thinker, and thank goodness for them, right? Thank goodness for that mindset.
Yeah.
So we hear the origination of the business.
Right.
Let's be clear to the listeners what it is that you do. Give me your exact reason for being, M2 Solutions' reason for being right now. I'm going to let you two pick out who answers this question.
Yeah, so we like to say that you build it, but we make it last. Mm-hmm. And we use different tools to help determine what is going to make a structure last longer. We work with structural engineers and architects, and we can run service life analysis to predict how long a new concrete structure is going to last, for example. But we have the products that can make it last longer. So if an owner is looking for a bridge, for example, to last 75 years, we can help them achieve that through the technologically advanced products that we carry.
So it would seem to me that a bridge lasting 75 years is a no-brainer, but you're suggesting that there needs to be extra things done, and the products that you represent will increase the lifespan of that bridge.
The products that they put in the bridge make a tremendous difference as to what kind of service life you get out of the back end.
Are these products more available in different regions of the country than they are here? Are we late coming to this idea?
We're not. I don't think we're late coming to the use.
Maybe yes and no, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. The technology that was being used in our area has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And for example, they might use 2 to 6 gallons of a certain type of product. Well, with technologically advanced materials and a different chemistry makeup, we can do get the same performance with only 1.5 pints. Uh-huh. So, when you look at the logistics of that for a company who would use these products, we're actually sending less product. They're environmentally friendly, which we love. Mm-hmm. Most of them are NSF 61 certified, safe to use with potable water. Sorry, engineering comes out.
No, that's an important piece because we live on the Gulf Coast. Yeah. So, and that's an important piece to sort of how we founded the company. We really did look for technologically savvy, advanced products that offered solutions to very complicated industrial and construction problems.
Yeah.
So we solve problems.
So
that's what we do.
The conversation, much of the conversation around our nation these days is on infrastructure. We can find an infrastructure argument at any given point saying that the infrastructure we have has lived beyond its capability, and we need an extraordinary new infrastructure spend to change things and rebuild the bridges and all this kind of stuff. Your products and solutions would apply to things of that nature. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Yeah. How do you I'm really interested in the products, how they came about. But let's hear the story about 2 females, and I don't want to be diminishing or stereotypical or anything like that.
We're unusual.
Stepping into what has historically been a male's business, whether it be engineering, whether it be construction. Tell me how you were perceived out there as you began to make phone calls.
Well, it's been an interesting transition. I think on the front end, nobody really could wrap their arms around what we were doing, and they didn't. We don't look like this is what we would do for a living, really. And I think on the front end, it took us a little bit longer than, say, it would have if you had been doing the same job to sort of meet people and start working with people. But we typically stay on jobs from inception to completion. We're full service. And so I think that we had to do a couple of projects on the front end to kind of establish that with our customers, and our customer base is fairly diverse. Mm-hmm. As Andrea mentioned, it's everything from the structural engineer to the architect down to the ready-mix plant, the people that are pouring the concrete. So we work with a wide spectrum of different people, and we had to get some projects under our belt, I think, to really prove ourselves. That we were, 1, capable, and 2, we knew what we were talking about. That took a little bit of time. We're now in our 3rd year, and our reputation is good. We have a solid reputation in this community, in the construction community, and I think that has really served us well. So we don't get the strange looks that we got on the front end now on the back end. And we're not young either. We're not in our 20s anymore. That doesn't bother us at all.
Right.
And we frequently are in unusual places and wearing unusual clothes and climbing up under bridges, and we do all this kind of crazy work. And when people look strange, we just it sort of rolls off.
Yeah.
I think it's really about establishing trust.
That's right.
When you're working with architects and engineers and contractors, they need to know that you're going to be there, that it's going to work, and that 5 years down the road, they're not going to get a call back on a project. And I think we've been able to establish that. Probably the funniest thing that happened to me right when we started, I wanted to meet different people in the industry. And so I went to a Concrete 101 class. And I was the last person in, and I was actually the only female there. There were probably 25 people in the room. And I went right up front and sat in the chair up front and listened to the entire presentation. It was great. You can always learn something from these. I mean, I know what goes into concrete, but it's just helpful to hear it, again and again, and different little things that they'll throw out that might be new. So I sat through the whole thing, and at the end, I went up to meet the speaker and introduced myself. It's someone that I'd wanted to meet, and shook his hand, and he said, I thought you were here by mistake. Yeah. I thought that you came and sat through this and you were just in the wrong room and you were too embarrassed to leave. And I said, no, you don't know me very well. Yeah. I wouldn't waste my time.
Yeah. I'm definitely here for Concrete 101.
That's right.
Yeah. And it still occurs. It doesn't happen quite as often, but we went to World of Concrete, which is the world's largest concrete show, back in January, and we went to specifically look for new technology. We look for sort of new technology, like the booze in the back, that they've got enough money and they've got enough projects that they've got something real,
right,
but they don't have the distribution and they don't have the reps that are talking about their projects everywhere. And so we look for new technology to kind of add to our existing technology so we have more solutions. And it was late at night. We'd flown in from a meeting in Chicago, and we're sitting in the taxi. And the taxi driver says, so why are y'all in Las Vegas? And it was like 1 a.m. And Andrea says, well, we're here for World of Concrete. And he says, and he didn't miss a beat, and he says, so your husband's in the concrete industry. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm so glad it's really early in the morning, because she would kill you if it wasn't. Yep. So it still happens.
Folks, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I have two ladies here who are thrilled by rust and concrete and have made a business out of it. We're going to go to break, and when we come back, I want to talk about starting a business in, not in your 20s. And I also want to start about how you sell a product that you tell a manufacturer, this is going to extend the life of your bridge by 50 years, but no one's going to be around to prove that true or not. They can't ask for a refund when we're all dead. Well, I'll talk about that when we get back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. We'll be back after this break. This is Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Jim Mitchell and his team at Signorama have provided all types of signage for nearly every event I've been a part of for years. I know his team's creativity, their multitude of products, and how easy they are to work with. His No Mistake Signorama is South Alabama's marketplace leader. Find Signorama on Facebook. Call 634-0100 or visit next to Mullinex Ford on Airport Boulevard.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
Human Resource Department on insurance billing mistakes, Obamacare rules, and compliance. Employee benefits serve the purpose of recruiting, retaining, and rewarding employees. We can handle all of your benefit needs with cost-effective products, employee enrollments, and handle your HR issues. It doesn't have to be complicated. My name is Michael Cowart Jr. of the Cowart Group, and we specialize in helping businesses with their employee benefit packages. Visit CowartAssociates.com.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. I'm sitting in with Beth Morrissette and Andrea Moore of M2 Solutions. They began a business midlife. I'm not going to put ages on anything here. That was in the rust and concrete and perhaps more prevention or extension industry. I'll ask you to define that a little bit more. Both. And then how you prove your products work when everybody that helped build them has been dead for 50 years or something like that. So you're in the concrete and rust prevention and extension business. Talk to me about what we were talking about going into before the break, beginning a business like this. It's a very unique business, mid-career, midlife. It's you make a decision like this in your 20s and you think I have plenty of time to recoup if it fails. You make a decision like this when you're over your 20s, you think this needs to work.
I think for us, the partnership has been really important. I don't take the same level of risk that Beth takes, and I appreciate that she pushes us as a business and as a company to do things that are sometimes out of my comfort zone. And so I think that partnership has been very critical and very key. Early on, because there are two of us, we defined roles very clearly. And I think that's been really helpful. So we understand, who handles invoicing. We understand who handles, a technical presentation. And we've divided those, we've divided those responsibilities so that everything's very clear. And I will say we love working together too. So It's been nice when we go into technical presentations for architects or engineers, the ability for me to do like the technical piece, but really for Beth to explain the business and how we can help them.
And we're friends first. We're business partners second. And I'll tell you that we went into this knowing that we weren't going to let this disrupt the friendship, because we felt like the friendship had some longevity and was important to us. And so that sort of defined how we work together, and we both have different strengths. And we knew that going in. And so we've been able to play to those different strengths, and I think it's made it really successful. More successful differently, I think, than I had envisioned 3 years ago. We've definitely grown a lot. We have a lot more depth than we did 3 years ago. 3 years ago when we did this, rust and corrosion were what we focused on. And now we do waterproofing and we do structural strengthening and we do a lot. We provide a lot more solutions to a lot more complicated problems than we did then. And I think that's Andrea too. She's willing to kind of push outside the box, because we're sitting at the table anyway talking about these issues. And she's the research piece. She's the technologically savvy piece of our business. And so she has spent a lot of time kind of trying to sort of broaden what we do. But I think that plays back into both of our skill sets and our strengths and what has made this business really great.
Well, I want to talk about the products now. Get into what it is that you do. You're going to extend the life of concrete. You're going to waterproof. You're going to prevent rust and corrosion. And you know this because I told you this in anticipation. I went online and typed in, how old is the oldest Roman aqueduct? 300 BC. It was built. It's still out there, and apparently it's working. So why are we having such a corrosion and cement problem today when there are things that are still working from 300 BC? What's wrong with our concrete?
Sure. No, it's a great question. And I will tell you that we are still figuring that out. But a major breakthrough, I think, was made in 2017 by a researcher, Marie Jackson, and she published this in American Mineralogist. But the components of concrete, going back to 30 BC, really was a concoction of volcanic ash, lime, seawater. And when that mixed together, the seawater that had salt in it, which would have caused corrosion, had that in there, it actually produced two different minerals that over time strengthens concrete. And those two minerals, before this, they knew that one of them is called aluminum tobermorite, but the other one is called philipsite. And these two minerals will help strengthen that concrete over time. They knew it was there, but they didn't know how it was forming. But now they know that it's actually the seawater hitting it. Well, today in our concrete, we have what's called reinforcing rebar for short.
Yeah.
They didn't have that in their concrete. So they didn't have that exposure to rust. But what they didn't understand before 2017 was really why that concrete was getting stronger over time, almost like rock. And that's why it was lasting so long. It's really, they believe, due to these two minerals. They're not able to commercialize that yet in a way that it can be used today, but they are in the labs working on it. And so really fascinating articles out there about the research that's being done and what they're discovering even now.
So we can safely say that the Romans unwittingly added seawater. Well, they wittingly add seawater. Unwittingly, they didn't know that it would make the concrete stronger over time. It just, looking back on it now, we see that it seems to have worked. And it's the element of salt, which is a corrosive material, is it not?
It is, correct.
Isn't there some irony, a paradox in this somehow?
There really is, yes. Seawater, concrete structures will not last as long if we put them near salt water.
Right.
Because it's porous. And so chlorides will ingress into the concrete and eventually start to corrode the rebar. Well, they didn't have rebar, and their seawater, because of these minerals, was making it stronger. It really is. It's very cool.
It's fascinating science.
It is fascinating.
And that plays directly to Andrea's strength.
Yes.
She loves those type of questions, and it's very good at it.
So tell me, assume that I'm a contractor, and you all have scheduled an appointment, and I'm unclear of what it is that you're offering. Give me a pitch. So I've got a big concrete structure coming, and you've heard about it. It's been in the bid or something like that, and you're selling me on your solutions. What is the pitch going to sound like?
You know, I don't know that we pitch. So we talk a lot about sales, right? So we've heard sales a lot today. We share information. So I think it's more sharing information so they can make the right decision for their client. And most of the time, their client is very interested in getting the maximum amount of service life that they can get out of a structure, whether it's a bridge or a foundation or a, we work on a lot of different types of a plant, an industrial plant. And so the pitch is slightly different if you're talking about a contractor and helping them find their client the best solution to that service life. So
let me I'll just use an example. So if we were giving a pitch to a power company that was getting ready to build a new plant, and we know that they're going to have lots of heavy equipment that they're going to be moving back and forth. So we have the first ever mineral admixture that goes into concrete that will harden the concrete. We have a material that is the first internal curing product on the market. And basically, when you finish concrete, you want to hold that water in there. You don't want it to come out. So there's a process called wet curing that most contractors do, or there's curing compounds you can use. Well, now, for the first time ever, we can put an admixture into the concrete at the ready mix plant, pour it, and in 2 to 3 days, get the entire team working on the job, whereas they may have had to wait anywhere from 7 to 28 days before they did that before. So we can reduce construction schedules, which saves a lot of money because of the different trades that are on site. It makes the concrete stronger with the compressive strength. And if they're going to be facing any type of chemicals or things that could be corrosive over time, because concrete's porous, we have an admixture that goes into the concrete that will reduce that corrosion rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the contractors end up saving money generally by using the right product mix. They can save a lot of money on the back end.
So it's
project.
You sell hardness, for lack of a better term, when it comes to concrete, and time.
That's right.
You give back time.
That's right.
And
time is money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you talk about extension on a project when you're talking about labor and time and people standing on the project, and we can save a tremendous amount of money.
So I'm now imagining.
We can save them a tremendous amount of money.
You're showing up at the concrete plant.
Right.
They have ordered your additives. Can I call it an additive to
admixtures.
Their concrete? Your admixtures.
Yeah.
And the two of you are climbing a ladder and pouring a bucket full of this stuff into the concrete mixer. Is that the way it happens?
So that is actually how it happens. We generally don't climb the ladder. We stand and watch others climb the ladder.
Yeah.
So it's a liability piece. But we are on site a lot of times at 3. And, we don't have Andrea was so smart on the front end. I said, so what are our operating, when you're setting up and you're doing all the paper, I was like, what are our operating hours going to be? And she said, I think we're going to have to be 24/7 because concrete companies start at 2 in the morning, and frequently the trucks are bringing the materials in at 10 at night, and there's really very little in between. And that's sort of what we are. We're 24/7, so we're generally present.
Are you on site as these additives are placed?
Yes.
Always the first time.
Yes.
Because we're not, I think what makes us really unique is we're not just a distributor. You don't call us and order a widget and we send you the widget. You call us and we help you with the solution.
Yeah.
But then we'll go on site and train the teams as well, how to use it, what it is. We provide the safety data sheets so that they know, what type of material they're dealing with. But the first time they use it, we're always on site. And then after that, we've trained the team and they're usually good to go.
Yeah. What about iron? We've talked about iron. We've talked about concrete. What about iron and steel? How do you get involved in that?
Sure. So we actually carry products that have what's called a vapor phase corrosion inhibitor in them, the coatings themselves. So a typical paint, we have additives that go in there that will reduce the rate of corrosion. And so if you have oil rigs out in the Gulf, we would have coatings that are used to paint those.
Right.
Protect them, make them last longer.
How long before the paint companies start adding this standard? How long before the concrete companies say, you know what, we're these customers of ours are buying this additive and then adding it to our concrete on site. Why don't we make this standard going forward? We see this happening in, let's say, the software world. That a software company will buy an app and then include that app into their standard operating system. At what point does that happen to you guys?
They already are.
They already are.
Yeah.
Really?
Right.
They are.
It just depends. And we work with a lot of companies who are already using our materials in that way and branding it themselves.
Mm-hmm. So do you have distribution in the Southeast? You have exclusive distribution by the manufacturers of these additives, to use that word again.
That is correct. So if you look at our service area, we're primarily Southeast, and it plays to what Andrea said. Our strength is actually being on site and being present, especially the first time anyone uses our materials, to make sure everything is seamless. That said, we have shipped materials all over the United States and outside the United States. So, if there's a project and we've got solutions, we are typically present. So
I hate to ask this question because this is the doom and gloom guy in me, but a big hurricane would just be a boom for your business, wouldn't it? As all these structures get knocked down and it's time to repaint and rebuild and pour new concrete, you think, oh gosh, that's a Category 5 coming right towards us. Build up the inventory.
Yeah,
they're nodding. You can't see me.
And it's unfortunate, but yes.
Because that's a loaded question, Pam. That's a really loaded question. All right, so we live in this area too. We would prefer a hurricane never hit it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we firsthand worked on relief efforts from hurricanes, so we know what kind of damage that does. But from a business perspective, those are solutions that we can help with on the back end.
Yeah.
So, inevitable, earthquakes, hurricanes, they happen.
Yeah.
Right? Natural disasters happen.
Right.
So when you rebuild, you want to do it a little differently. So things are a little bit more secure. It doesn't mean that a hurricane can't come and wipe it out. It just means that things are a little bit more shored up. And we're very good at that piece on the back end.
Yeah.
So.
There are a lot of businesses, and I've interviewed a couple on this show that are really do well in times of natural disasters. And it doesn't make them bad or evil, but they realize that this is it's go time when that thing happens, and you can hardly blame them.
Right.
We all need those services in that time.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And we're good at that.
Yeah.
That's one of our strengths. And we went into it knowing that. When we live on the Gulf Coast. So, and that's why the business is here, by the way. We live in a salty, sandy area. If you look across our coast, and it's elements, it's storms, it's there's a lot of stuff that can interfere in good building, and so it was important to us to put it here.
Here's home. Here's where they need
it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Beth Morrissette and Andrea Moore are co-owners of M2 Solutions. When we come back from break, I want to talk about the trends that are influencing your industry, as well as each of you, what you may be going through as you look into the future. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. We'll be right back.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that make people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I focus on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance, or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, and get to a better state with State Farm.
That's the sound of rush hour. Hello, recess.
Mom!
Work from home is a lot of work. Even though we're a little further apart right now, we're still in this together. Regions is donating this ad to local food banks to shine a light on them as they feed our neighbors in need. Learn how you can help or get help at regions.com/foodbank. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
The best, most cost-efficient ways to talk to customers about who you are and what you do is through signs, simple, effective signs. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. Signorama is the Mobile area's leader in helping you design and build signs advertising your business. What kinds? All kinds of signs, all kinds. Find Signorama on Facebook or at signorama-mobile.com. Back back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. I'm sitting with Beth Morrissette and Andrea Moore of M2 Solutions. We want to get into some of the trends that are shaping your business. I know that energy efficiency has always been on the tip of everyone's tongue, but it's often hard to find. However, you guys seem to have had some success recently with one of your projects on the Gulf, the hotel down there. Tell me that story.
That's correct. So the Gulf State Hotel, the structural engineer was working on the project with the architect, and we had reached out to them and asked if we could meet with them to talk about the service life that they wanted to get out of the hotel. And they were actually looking at a different technology at the time. And we presented a solution that is bio-friendly, actually offered LEED credits, which is an
Explain
architect.
those.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and prior to the materials that we had, LEED credits, getting LEED credits through concrete was really unheard of. So this was a new, these were new solutions that offered them an advantage in bio-friendly sort of building.
So a LEED credit, L-E-E-D.
L-E-E-D.
Do you know what it stands for? I've seen it in hotel lobbies before, seeing hotel is LEED certified or something like that. It's a pretty big deal.
Right. So we're very lucky in our area to have a LEED certified architect who can work on these projects. And so she had actually worked on the project. If a product or material is bio-friendly, you can earn what are called LEED points.
Yes.
And there's different levels. So there's gold, there's different things that you can try to achieve. And it's really about how many points you have. So if you're doing green building, the more bio-friendly materials that you use and potentially less transportation, you can actually get LEED points if something is within 500 miles, manufactured within 500 miles of the actual project site. And so you can build up those points. And then if you see a building like the Gulf State Hotel that has the LEED certification, you can know that the materials used were as locally sourced as they could be and were as bio-friendly as they could be. Mm-hmm. And, in that environment where you have sea turtles crawling up, the beach and, doing the nesting, and you want to be protective of that. So,
well, and when we are looking for new technology and new products to carry and new solutions, we really do spend a significant amount of time looking for solutions that are bio-friendly, that have that bio piece, that are NSF 61 certified, so for use with potable water. Because we live here, right? Our kids swim in the bay. There's marine life in the bay. That's important to us. We fish. So we want the materials that we use to be as good for the environment as they possibly can, but to also get the client the longest service life they can. So there's a balance.
It's got to be expensive, though. I can't imagine these additives that we're talking about here. You guys are going to climb to the top of the ladder and pour a bucket of something into the cement thing, and you think that's got to be tens of thousands of dollars per bucket full or something like that. Am I right or am I wrong?
Not necessarily.
Yeah. So it really, and this is where we can be very helpful.
That's right.
And this is why we like to be on the front end of a project. For specifically reinforcement bar that goes into concrete. There are different ways you can do that. You can use a typical steel piece of rebar. You can go to stainless steel, which is incredibly expensive,
yes,
and that will really boost the cost of your project. Or you could use epoxy-coated rebar. Our solution is an admixture that actually is more cost-effective than the epoxy-coated rebar or the stainless steel by a significant amount. So when we come in and a client tells us we worked on the Mississippi Aquarium and they wanted a certain service life. So we ran all of the service life analysis for them. We ended up using the admixture in 2 areas, but they already had the service life they needed in the others. So we actually helped that client save money by not putting it in the entire project and just helping them to understand what that service life was going to be in those different spots.
Yeah, so to go back to the Gulf States Hotel and Convention Center, we actually ended up saving them about 6 figures over what they had initially specified into the hotel structure by just transferring the materials out and getting them LEED credits in the concrete. So it was a real win-win at a time when the hotel was kind of having trouble getting traction again because there were so many overruns in the construction process, which is normal. So we actually did save them a tremendous amount of money, and they got a better outcome out of the structure using the materials we provided.
So we know environmental friendly and we know energy efficiency are trends that are impacting every industry. What other trends are you guys seeing that are transforming your business?
Yeah, I would say on the technology side, we're really seeing changes in how concrete is cured. If you've ever looked at a driveway or a concrete slab, occasionally you'll see a crack, right?
I got a big one running right down the center of my driveway. I thought, gosh, that didn't take long.
Yes. Well, imagine what happens. The goal is to keep the water in the concrete while it's curing. Imagine that you're building a new condominium down at the beach, and you're 18 stories up. The wind is hitting and it's just drying that concrete out, right? It's very hard for contractors to keep the water in the concrete when you're facing those conditions. So to have the first ever internal curing admixture, so it's already in the concrete, it's going to hold the water in without you having to do anything as the contractor. That's going to help, because a lot of times what contractors will have to do is actually add more water. Well, that can create cracking and small micro cracks. And, over time, that could allow for ingress of other things.
I see. So there's technology trends that are shaping the utilizing of your service.
And we look for those technology. We specifically look for those newer technology trends that are seasoned enough, that they've been out there for a while, that they have testing, that they're proven, but yet, nobody's really widely using them yet.
How about each of you individually, trends that you're facing? You're two females, blonde females, in a historically male-dominated business. You've now got a foothold. You have repeat business. You've proven that you can save money. What do you foresee?
We have a lot of loyal clients.
What do you foresee happening?
For that. I don't know. We're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
We went in this. You've asked that question about hurricanes. So if we sat and waited for a piece of business to come via a hurricane, we'd be sitting for a really long time.
Yeah.
These projects, we're not talking about things that, we start sharing information. And from, project inception to completion, sometimes you're talking about 4 or 5 years. Sometimes, in the case of the bridge that currently has gone away for a little bit, but we expect will come back at some point. The I-10 bridge that's crossing the Bayway. These are long. We're in this for the long haul. And, we went in this a little later. We're not in our 20s, but we also went into it thinking that we are going to stick and stay and be around for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, the trend that I'm really seeing the most right now with building is the partnership of a contractor, an architect, an engineer going in as a team and bidding a project. But in the scope of that, they'll get specifications, but they have unique ways to offer a different solution to the same problem, and they might be able to save the owner money. So a lot of times we'll see, different groups teaming up and then going after a project, but they each have their unique spin on it. And so we have been very grateful to be part of some of those teams, because we can bring some technological advantages to those teams that others may not have. And so we've actually seen some of our partners win projects simply based on the fact that we knew they'd had issues with the concrete. We knew how to solve some of those issues, and we were partnered with them. So,
and increases in design build teams, I think, are one of the trends we're definitely seeing, which is very positive for the owner.
And on these teams, are you considered an equal with the contractor, with the engineer?
We are, and I think it's really about trust, and I think we've been around long enough now that they know that we will do what we say we're going to do and that we'll be there.
Yeah, that's great. Imagine you could hit, and there will be people listening to this that won't know what I'm referring to, mostly younger people, Control-Alt-Delete and do it all again.
Oh, well.
If you could put your 3 fingers on those keys and reboot the machine. Now, you're only 3 years into this, though,
right?
So there's not a lot of history behind it. But let's imagine you could start it again, because there are people out there. And I talked to a guy last week who, 51 years old, started a new business. He's now 75. And he said, people thought I was crazy to do this at 51. You're kind of in the same boat. So you have some wisdom due to your age and experience.
That's right.
But you also have a new, fresh business.
Well, so I'll tell you, for us, it was a little bit easier because we launched this out of an existing business that had some longevity, and its reputation was for doing business honestly. And that helped, I think, because we kind of launched it differently. I don't know that we would hit the Alt-Delete. We wouldn't. I don't know that there's anything that we look back and think, we should have done this a little differently. I think perhaps if you look at a timeline, we might have put some things in different places. And so, as a funny example of that, we had all our ducks in a row. So what we did really, really well on the front end was establish the foundation. So we knew that we needed, good legal support. We knew that we needed good accounting support. We layered all of that in because we knew that those things were important to a business And we did all of that well. But what we didn't really think through time-wise, that it was going to take us forever to get our city business license.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So there were some little hiccups on the front end that took a little bit longer because we're fast, right? We do things really quickly.
I do have one Control-Alt-Delete for you, though.
Do you?
I would not have put my cell phone out there.
Well, and yeah.
We would have established a 1-800 number from the beginning because
that's very true.
We do get calls at 5 a.m. And so, yeah.
So, and that piece perhaps would have been different too. But I think timeline-wise, we would have done a few things. We just didn't anticipate that it was going to take a little bit longer to get licenses than it did.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it didn't really matter in the whole scheme of things. But we now know what that looks like, and we now know what it looks like to successfully spin out a business. And I think we could probably do it again. In fact, we've actually talked about it. So, who knows? We may end up spinning out something else, in a few years. We'll see. And as the business evolves.
Yeah, and I would add one other thing. We had a resource here in our city, and I know a lot of cities have similar things, but we had a group called Innovation Portal.
Oh, yeah.
And I cannot tell you how helpful they were because we said, okay, we need a software that does this. What do you see other startup businesses using? What do they like? What do they not like?
Right. We need shipping services that can do this. We need warehousing that's dynamic that can do this. And so to Andrea's point, I think that we layered in some things on the front end, and they were, and I say, quote, free resources. I mean, there's no resource that's free, but we knew enough about our community to understand where we could tap into resources that would help us launch faster and help us more successfully build a stronger foundation. I mean, not to play on what we do, because that's what we do, but that's what we did initially with the business. And, the Small Business Administration and the Chamber of Commerce, and there were a dozen resources in addition to Innovation Portal that really solidly helped us launch, and we are eternally grateful.
The older I get, the more I realize the value of my network.
That's right.
And it's not to benefit me exactly, but it may have been at some point to introduce you to the right person, and the feeling of help and satisfaction I get by making connections between people. And I think as I get older, there's more and more value there. I'm not looking to monetize who I know, but there's value in that, and knowing that in serendipity, it'll come around at some point.
So Andrea and I call our network friends.
Yeah.
And we have lots and lots and lots of friends now all over the place.
Yeah.
And those friends have helped tremendously in thousands of different ways, some small and some big, but it truly has helped put us where we are today.
I think the unexpected gift has been the relationships.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Listen to the two of you. That's great. You're in the concrete, steel, preservation, paint business, and you come away thinking the benefit of it has been the relationship you've developed along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I finished one quick note. We had a guy from Yellowhammer Coffee. He said, I wanted to start a business where I liked the people that I worked with and what we stood for. And once I figured that out, I figured out what the business would need to be. Sounds like you guys have come at it or achieved the same solution,
right? But
from a different starting point.
Yeah, I mean, we love, and I would say it goes beyond we love the people we work with, and helping them find solutions to complicated problems has been really, really fun because it has been a very, very great business model for us.
M2 Solutions can be found where?
You can visit us on our website at m2.solutions, and you can also Facebook,
yeah,
at LinkedIn.
I'm with Beth Morrissette. I'm with Andrea Moore, the co-owners of M2 Solutions. Folks, I'll have final comments after this break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. We'll be right back.
Do you sometimes wonder about different money topics, but struggle to find the answers? The Every Dollar Counts podcast with Gulf Coast experts Josh Knoll and Jay Stubbs is made for those folks serious about their financial plan and looking for answers. Josh and Jay dedicate their time to explaining the various services and products available, as well as discussing lifestyle and money interests of the modern-day family. Tune in to Every Dollar Counts on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you get your favorite podcasts. Do you have a plan to protect your income if you can't work? We'd all like to believe that we'll never be disabled, but the reality is it could happen to you. And if it does, will your income be protected, your family be cared for? Richard Otts has served the Gulf Coast since 1997. If you'd like more information about disability insurance, contact Richard, 251-342-8917. That's 251-342-8917.
M2 Solutions, whose motto is, you build it, we make it last. I can't thank Andrea Moore and Beth Morrissette enough. They wanted to meet in person to do this interview in the studio. More often than not, we do them over the phone so that we could make eye contact and talk. And I can't tell you how much I think that interactivity helped the content of this interview. It was a pleasure meeting them. And once again, I'm surprised by, not surprised, wrong word. I tend to use that word too much. Impressed by their admission as well as the admission that I make of the importance of the network, of the importance of the relationships. When I first started in business years back, it was how much dollars, and I wanted to track revenue, and I had all kinds of spreadsheets meant to track revenue. And that's important. No doubt about it. That's important. But the longer I'm alive, I guess, and the more I do this type of thing, the better I feel about the people I meet and the friendships I make and the relationships that I make. I really, really enjoy that. And even though these ladies are in the extended life business, they're making the products or the things that you build last longer. It's the relationships with the people that they make along the way that seem to matter to them the most. And this is not some sort of warm, fuzzy kumbaya end to the show. It's not that at all. It's maybe I, Cam, talking to myself, can keep this in the forefront of my mind as I go into my workday every day. I am fortunate, and we all are, those of you that know what I'm talking about, to have these relationships that make our days so much more pleasant. Again, thanks to Andrea, thanks to Beth for their time and the best wishes. An extraordinary, quiet confidence that I get from them in their demeanor, in the charisma that filled the studio that day of, we know what we're doing, we're unafraid, we've got our clients' best interests at our heart, and it's not all about profit. It's about the relationships that we make along the way, and just refreshing. I can't give them enough best wishes. I do wish them the best. Here's how to get to the show. We've set up a website, or a link rather, designated to the show, www.whatsworkingcam.com. Again, no apostrophes in web address and URLs. whatsworkingcam.com. You'll see this show as well as the many others that we offer. Our history of shows are all listed there. You can find any one of these shows on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Spotify, if you look for What's Working with Cam Marston on any of those services. Also, and I suspect you may know this, since the coronavirus hit on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I present live from the 1065 studios with a focus on small business surviving in the times of the COVID economy. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 p.m. for an hour. I typically have 2 to 3 guests in that time asking for their expertise, looking for numerated ideas for keeping small business alive during the time of the corona economy. What's Working is brought to you by Regions. I want to thank John Thompson with Ion Digital. He's the producer of our show, continues to do great work for us. And I want to thank Kristen Ogden. Kristen organizes these guests, organizes our calendars, screens them, finds them, gives them a brief phone call to make sure they're not going to be a dud on the air. And she's doing very, very good at that, and schedule these things for us. And I also want to thank Sabrina Alexander. She's part of our PR team, helping us understand the importance of social media, when, where, and what to post, and helping us build that audience there. You're listening to What's Working. We'll have another show for you next week. Have a good week, everybody.